Hello, every pony, and welcome to another edition of Fandom Fridays. Well, once again, Sega has decided to grace us with another Sonic cartoon. Thanks, Celestia is not in anime form, and it is not with Chris. Not to say that Sonic X was horrible, but, well, they don't call it the Chris Show for nothing. And from what I've heard about Sonic Boom, the reactions are mixed. By which I mean I've seen only two people review it, one on YouTube and the other on my fanfiction account. But from what I've heard, one has said it's really good because it's a comedy, the other one has said it's really bad. All things point to it is, in fact, a sitcom comedy, but what you expect from Polsky. I mean, he did write some good episodes for My Little Pony, and some bad ones, but I've noticed that, but come hell or high water, I could care less about what it is now. I mean, they could put in a writing staff of Josh Whedon, animation directed by Josh Whedon, and written by Greg Weisman, Josh Whedon, and Neil Gaiman, and I would probably watch the hell out of that sucker. But all things considered, they could put in a good writing staff all they want, but it's nothing good compared to my love of Satam. Yes, I am a noted huge Satam fan. I love the characters, love the story progression, love Robotnik where he was pure evil, and I loved everything else about that story in that show. I mean, if you really want to see what I love about it, watch the Nostalgia Critics review of it, or listen to other people talk about it. I mean, it's not exactly a small thing when it comes to Sonic, to a lot of Sonic fans. As a matter of fact, recently I had an epiphany that I myself seem to be more of a Satam fan than a Sonic the Games fan. I mean, I love the games. I really do. I think the games are awesome. I'm looking forward to playing Sonic Boom on my Wii U once I get a Wii U and Sonic Boom. And I'm looking forward to whatever else Sega's got, be bad or good. I'm that much of a Sonic fan. I love the Sonic comics, even with the reboot. But I look at Satam, and to me, it's still a classic. I find myself writing stories or rewriting the game storyline to put in Satam elements. And I'm personally of the belief that maybe the games would be a little bit better if they threw in some Satam elements. So, hey. And I don't think I'm alone in this. Ask a lot of older Sonic fans, and I wonder just how many you're going to get that say, well, I like the games, but I was introduced to it through Satam. Well, I decided to honor the occasion by going to my past. See, I'm sure you know that Dan Drazen was one of the first Sonic fanfics I read, but there's also another couple of gents long ago that were part of the first epic length Sonic fanfics I read. As a matter of fact, they are part of one of the longest ones I've ever read back in the old days before reading Fallout Equestria. Before Penstroke and his collaborator put typing to the computer screen and gave us a little filly that we would all come to love and cherish as Nix. Long before K-Cat would give us the spanning epic of awesomeness that is Fallout Equestria, there was two guys named Robert Brown and Francis Tolbert that gave us an epic life Sonic fanfic that was supposed to replace Season 3 of Sonic Satam because, as we all know, ABC was a bunch of idiots and decided to try to shuffle off Sonic into the area of death as much as possible. And we find out that the one of their head writers actually had a whole bunch of ideas for Season 3 that never came to be. Say what you will about Season 3 of Pony, at least we fans got one. Not so much for our Satam fans, where we got nothing. Zilch! A big fat zero. Thank you, Pinky. So, many writers over time have come up with their own Season 3. Some of them did it in comic form. I haven't read that comic. Some of them have done it in fanfic, or some of them have talked about it. This is one of those fanfics. Robert Brown and Francis Tolbert created this long, sprawling epic years ago, back 2006, and this was where I came in. This is what I read first. It feels so long ago. So I decided to do this type of read. Now, at first, I was planning on doing their last story, Armageddon. Well, not the last story, but the last story of the Race for the Emeralds arc. But that is an entire arc finisher. And I would actually have to, if I were to do that for you people, I would have to summarize everything that has happened before. I would have to tell you about the Race of the Emeralds, the legend, etc., etc., and I would have to give you small little databases on all the OCs. Yes, this fix got OCs, and I used to think they were bad, but I'll get back to the review. But some of them are pretty dang good, and I liked them. But I digress. So this fic, so I couldn't really do that type of story. It would be unfair to you guys, and unlike Micah's work, I would actually want to make sure that the recap was something that you would all enjoy and you could all understand and find out what has been going on. So instead, I'm going to do the first story of Reverend Francis Tolbert's work. And who knows? Maybe if some of you people ask really nicely, or if Robert Brown and Francis Tolbert deem me worthy, I could see me maybe doing Armageddon one day as kind of a little tribute to everything that started with me. So, without further ado, please enjoy as we at the Treeberry Memorial Library are proud to present Robert Brown and Francis Tolbert's Sonic Stories. Enjoy. Love Recaptured by Robert Brown and Francis Tolbert. I'm going to have to pause here, people. I really hate it when authors don't know how to hit the enter button. It makes it so hard. Oh well, let's do this. Sonic stood by his stove, cooking up a large pot of chili. The Freedom Fighters had scored the biggest victory over Robotnik ever with the destruction of his doomsday device, and planned a celebration the likes of movies had never seen. He was in charge of bringing the chili dogs, as usual, and was going to make sure that they were the best he ever made. He stirred the pot slowly, letting the meat and beans simmer in his own personal secret sauce. This was about the only thing he knew how to make, thanks to Uncle Chuck. But he knew how to make it well. He lifted the wooden ladle to his lips and let a drop of sauce fall into his tongue. Flames exploded from his mouth. He ran outside at supersonic speed and headed straight for the powering pool. Tails was sitting by the pool, dangling his feet idly in the water when a succession of sonic booms alerted him to his best friend's arrival. He stood up to greet Sonic, but flew quickly out of the way when he saw his friend's mouth on fire. Sonic dived into the pool the second he reached it. Steam rose from the pool. Sonic surfaced seconds later, sputtering and coughing. Needs more cayenne pepper. He thought smugly. Hey, Sonic! Tails yelled, flying over until he was just above Sonic. Yeah, thanks, little bro. Sonic replied, reaching up and grabbing Tails' hands. Man, my chili's sure to make this celebration a blast. Aw, Sonic, Tails said as he carried his friend to his shore. You know your chili sauce is too weak for my taste. Yeah, right, Tails. Anything you say. He let go and jumped ashore, dripping wet. Time for a serious shake. He shook himself violently, the water flying off him. Hey, watch it! Someone yelled to his right. Sonic turned and saw Princess Sally standing there. She was wearing a blue, off-the-shoulder dress and matching skirt that was now plastered to her body. Her hair clinging to her face, dripping wet. Makeup streaked her face in wet lines, making her look older than she was. I spent all morning getting ready for this party, she said, rounding on Sonic, and you ruined it in a matter of seconds! Chill out, Sal! Sonic replied nonchalantly, trying to keep his eyes from bugging out. It ain't no biggie. This coming from a hedgehog who cares so much about his quills. She muttered under her breath. Aloud she said, I'm going to dry off, change, If you think you can handle it, go get the party started and stall for me. No problem, Sal! Grab on, little bud! Tails grabbed onto Sonic's waist, and just as he took off with a sonic boom, Sally just stood there, shaking her head. Sometimes I wonder why I ever fell in love with you, Sonic Hedgehog, she thought. She floated off to her house, wondering just how long disability she got from the deep power stones would last. Later on, at the party, Sonic had just finished piling a plate with a pyramid of chili dogs when Sally reappeared. She was dressed as he normally saw her, in a blue vest and boots. Yo, Sally girl! He called as she walked up. Want a chili dog? I don't think so, she said in a superior tone. I never understood what you see in those things. Oh, I could tell you a lot. Oh, God, they were those chili delicious. Sonic tossed up a chili dog and caught it in his mouth, swallowing it whole. Oh, come on, Sal. You think of it as a peace offering. Don't you always tell me you'll never know until you try? He said his best imitation of her voice. Sally threw up her hands. Fine! She grabbed the chili dog from the plate and ate it quickly, before she had a chance to taste it. Happy now? Sonic stood there, arms folded, foot tapping. He knew what was going to happen. He watched the delight as Sally's eyes widened slightly, her tongue licking the corner of her mouth where a piece of chili still remained. She reached for another one, so that she saw Sonic's eyes on her, and quickly drew her hand away. Not bad, she said in a quivering voice. Sonic picked up another chili dog and held it under Sally's nose. Sure you don't want another one? Waving it slightly. Sally trembled for a few seconds, then looked at Sonic, an evil smile on her face. No, you can have it, she said, hands sneaking out to the edge of the plate. I'll just take these! She lifted the plate off and ran off, using her other gift from the deep power stones. Hey! Get back here with those! Oh! He gobbled the chili dog he held and leapt over the table. Just time! War bait! He took off at full speed, just beginning to close the distance between him and Sally as they entered the great forest. Privately, Sonic was a little jealous. All the deep powered stones had done to him was increase his speed to the point he no longer really needed a power ring. Sally, on the other hand, now had his speed, and she could fly too. He wondered how long it would be before the effect wore off. Antoine watched as his events unfolded, a smirk on his face. It is disgraceful, it has that pincushion. Only chases away out of my dear princess. He said to no one in particular. Has he no shame? I would never be caught dead in chasing after a woman like that. He sighed. However, if my princess would be chasing like that of me, but is a hopeless proposition. I will never give up. He stood up, facing the rest of Sally and Venice. Do you hear me? I shall never give up! Oh, come, Lion Sugar, said a voice behind him. Oh, thank everyone. The great forest has heard you. Ah! Antoine screamed and jumped. He turned around, his heart in his throat, and saw Bunny standing there, smiling. Ah, Mademoiselle Bonnet, he said shakily, mopping up his swaying brow. It is not a good idea to sneak up on the captain of the royal guards like that. Bunny permitted herself a chuckle. Antoine was always so funny, especially when he was spooked. Just wondering what he was up to, she said innocently. Antoine sighed again. I was just watching the love of my life being pursued by that furious hedgehog. Just briefly, Antoine thought he saw Bunny for once. He was going to ask why, but was interrupted by Rotor. Hey, Bunny, he called, walking up to them. Want to dance? Sure thing, Rout. See you later, Aunt. Antoine watched as they headed to the dance floor, to the beat of the band that had just started playing. A twinge of pain tugged at his heart. He remembered a time, many years back, when he had been interested in someone besides Sally, someone who had returned his affections. If only. Angrily, he banished the thought. No, he could never risk harming her again. He had failed her once. He would do whatever it took to not hurt her again, even if it meant giving up his only true chance at happiness. Bunny watched Antoine walked off with his head bowed out of the corner of her eye and sighed. Dancing with Rotor was okay. He moved well and knew what he was doing, even though she was glad he had metal feet. She had metal feet, but he was not who she wanted to dance with. And Rotor probably wanted to dance with a... No, that's spoilers. I'll talk about it later. She liked Rotor as a friend, but the relationship was purely professional, despite what the other thought. She could not see letting herself get involved with someone who depended on solely to keep herself going. No, her heart was set on another, one it had been set on since childhood. Oh, no. Please don't let it turn into Sonic Kid Chronicles. Anything but that. Ella, Sonic Kid Chronicles, trust me, you don't want to know. Let me just say, if I were to read it, I would get arrested. If anyone ever found out that she still carried a torch for him, and a bright one at that, he or she would probably collapse in a fit of laughter. But Bunny didn't care. Fact was, this animal used to be interested in her. But then... Bunny shook her head and concentrated dancing with Rotor. He made it quite clear that there was no chance of an intimate relationship, even though he had never said why. Thinking about it was like opening a scar. No matter how old the wound, it hurt and bled just as much as it did the first time. Antoine walked through the almost deserted streets of Knothole, head bowed in thought. The past was the past, he told himself over and over, and it would be left there. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't help but thinking about what might have been. "Something troubling you, Antoine?" a soft voice asked. He looked through the voice and saw Rosie walking behind him. No, Rosie, he said quickly. Just a bullet. Rosie smiled that knowing smile.
"Well, maybe you can help me then. I need someone to carry a few things to the party from my hut."
"But of course, madame. Just show me what it is that is needing to be moved." They walked in silence to her hut. Once there, she told him to gather a few things in the closet, while she got things from the kitchen. Some of the stuff was heavy, and Bunny strained to get them out from the closet. He found himself thinking that Bunny would be better for this. Again, there was a tug at his heart. He looked down for a second, and then turned around. Rosie was staring at him, and Antoine had the uncanny feeling that she had followed every twist and turn his mind had taken.
"You still love her, don't you?"
she said. Antoine tried to look away, but found himself being held fast by Rosie's gaze. Don't be being ridiculous, he said, stuttering. I love only my princess. Rosie let out her breath in a half sigh, half laugh.
"That sounds good, Antoine. Keep telling yourself that, and you might start believing it in another year or so."
Antoine wrenched his gaze away. Well,
anyway,
Rosie continued,
I just wanted to show you that what I found hidden away."
She held out a worn, beat-up old bucket.
"Recognize it?"
Antoine took the bucket from her. It caught his breath in surprise. It cannot be, he whispered awed.
"But it is. This is your old water balloon bucket. You had some great fun with this, didn't you?"
Oui, I did. He caressed the oaken handle lovingly. But this is out of my past. He said, holding it out to her. Rosie pushed it back toward him.
"Come on, Antoine. This is a party. Don't you liven it up a little? I know one particular doe who wouldn't mind. I'll even help you set her up, just like the old days."
A hint of mischievousness appeared in his eyes. I will be needing no more than 15 minutes, he said, running out the door. Au revoir! Rosie stood at the doorway and watched him go. She smiled satisfaction and walked back to the party, the things in her kitchen and closet forgotten. Meanwhile, in another part of Mobius, near the wreckage of the doomsday device, Snively was directing the SWAT bots and salvaging what they could. I am so glad I could put that program giving me control of Mobius, he thought. That will make my takeover of Mobius so much easier now that that big round boy has been destroyed. A series of sonic booms approaching caught his attention. Sir, the nearest SWAT bot reported. A creature is moving toward our precision at a high rate of speed.
Is it organic?
Snively asked in a nasal tone. The red visor on the robot's head flickered in surprise. No, sir, it does not. Then disregard and continue work, he ordered. The SWAT bot saluted and marched away. Looks like my friend is returning from his run, he thought. By combining the speed program I used in that robotic cheetah and data acquired from spy bots, I've created a huge plume of dust streaked in from the horizon, stopping directly in front of Snively. As the dust cleared, he exclaimed, "Little Sonic!" In front of Snively stood a perfect rendition of what Sonic would look like if roboticized. "So, friend," Snively continued, "are you ready to create some havoc?" Metal Sonic's lips parted in a cruel smile, showing rows of pointed teeth. He was ready. "Good. Now, you remember the plan." Metal Sonic bowed, turned around, and sped off. "Stage 1 is underway." Snively thought and laughed. "Back at Hot Knothole. Ugh, whiplash." Bunny made her way to a seat. Once she had gotten out on that dance floor, the men kept her there. She had a lot of fun, and enjoyed all the attention, but she wasn't used to it. She fanned herself with her good hand, trying to cool it off. Rosie walked up and sat down next to her.
Getting a lot of attention from the men, huh, Bunny?
She asked. "Don't I know it? Well, this party's a great idea." Rosie nodded and scanned the crowd.
Everyone seems to be having a good time today. Did you dance with every man in that hole?
"Yep, just about. Every pony except Sonic, who's off somewhere with Sally, and—" Her voice trailed off and became pensive.
The one you'd most like to be out there with, right?
Bunny shook her head and resumed fanning herself. "You can always read my mind, Rosie."
Don't worry, girl,
she said, patting Bunny's knee.
I'm sure things will turn out as they should.
She got up and stretched.
I'm going to get something to eat. Want anything?
"No, thanks. See you around." Rosie walked away, and Bunny sat there, alone with her thoughts. "Need some help cooling off, Bunny?" she heard from above. "I think I may be able to help you with that." Bunny looked up just in time to see a yellow balloon plummeting toward her. Swoosh! The balloon exploded and drenched her in ice water. Bunny started shivering immediately. From high above, she heard someone laughing hard and knew immediately who had done that. "I'm gonna get you, Antoine!" she yelled, shaking her metallic face in mock fury. Antoine sat on a bench directly above Bunny, with a bucket next to him. He was grabbing the tree with one hand and tossing another balloon up and down with his other hand. "What do you intend to do about this?" he taunted. Bunny stood and extended her metallic legs until she was equal height with Antoine. "How about this?" "I was expecting that," he said, and drenched her with another balloon. He slid down the trunk of the tree and ran off to the forest, carrying the bucket and laughing the whole way. Bunny wiped the water from her face and lowered herself back to normal. She ran after Antoine, laughing herself. Antoine hadn't nearly been this much of a prankster since that incident in Robotropolis when they were 8. It seemed that with Robotnik gone, everyone was turning to who they used to be. Maybe some of those old feelings will return too, she thought wistfully. They played for what seemed like hours. Bunny chasing Antoine, Antoine pelting Bunny with balloon once he got too close. She knew she would have to dry off later or risk shorting out, but she didn't care. She was young again, whole again, having fun again. Nothing else mattered. Antoine had temporarily given her the slip, as he was searching very carefully for him. Bunny! Bunny! Help! That call brought her back to the present. It sounded like Sonic was in trouble. "Sonic?" she called, trying to orient her voice. I'm stuck in some of the leftover Mega Muck. Please, hurry! I'm a coming, Sugar Hog! She ran towards his voice as fast as she could. She was sorry the game had broken up, but business was business, and her friend needed help. "Where are you?" "Over here!" The voice was closer this time, somewhere off to her right. The closer she got, the more she thought something didn't quite right. His voice sounded odd, almost tinny, as if spoken through a mess of wire. "Where?" she called again. "Right here." A metallic voice sounded, right next to her ear. In a flash, the metal arm encircled her throat, choking off her breath and stopping her dead in her tracks. "What the hoo-ha-hi?" She grabbed the arm with her robotic hand and tried to pull it off. That would work with most robots, dude. But not me. Who, who are you? You can call me Metal Sonic. Simply made me to help track and capture you freedom fighters. Guess who's first on his list? I can't believe me! She hauled with all her might, but couldn't buzz the robot. Enough of that, he said, pinching a nerve in Bunny's neck. She stiffened in sudden pain, then collapsed, unconscious. He was about to pick her up and carry her off when a loud "Cat!" caused him to look up. Antoine flew at him, foot aiming for the robot's head. He struck and glanced hard off the metal, yelping in pain. The robot backslapped Antoine, knocking him senseless. Well, Metal Sonic said. Looks like 2-for-1. He used his free hand to grab at Antoine. He hoisted one on each shoulder and sped off at supersonic speed for Robotropolis. Once there, he dumped him off at a holding cell and slammed shut the door. The noise caused Antoine to wake with a start. He looked around dazedly and felt at his jaw to see if it was broken. It wasn't. Muttering a few curses and fronts, he stood up and stumbled to the bars from the cell. Who is behind this outrage? He yelled, unable to focus. Oh, come on, Ant. Don't tell me you don't recognize my voice. Antoine's eyes snapped wide open. There, outside the cell, he saw Metal Sonic leaning against the wall. Sacre bleu! It cannot be! But it is. Now you better go be with your girlfriend, 'cause you don't have much time left. Use it! Lose time! Metal Sonic sped off, leaving only dust behind. Antoine ran to Bunny and cradled her head in his lap. Oh, Bunny, he said softly. Again, my pranks have caused you pain. I am so sorry. Tears fell from his eyes, wetting her face in tears. Excellent work, Metal Sonic, Stively said to the robot, who just appeared at his side at the control room. You have broken their will. I think their leader is one of us now. Fine and dandy. But what will we do about the real Sonic? That stays too, my friend. I will be able to take care of him personally. Both smiled cruelly, wanting to monitor as Antoine tried faintly to wake Bunny. She's not dead, is she? Nah, just comatose for an hour or so. Don't ask me how I was able to calculate somebody's comatose state. Good. Now get my horror ship. As you command, sir. Metal Sonic sped off, with Snively walking calmly over behind him. Over in the great forest, Sonic and Sally walked back toward the knothole arm in arm, wearing silly looks on their faces. Chili sauce was smeared all over their faces, but they seemed happy. I think that was our longest and best fake-shell session ever, Sonic remarked. Sally nodded. I think so too. It probably would have lasted longer if we didn't have to get back to the party. She snuggled into his arm. I don't know what it is about you, Sonic. Sometimes I wonder why I ever fell in love with you. Other times, I wonder how I didn't love you. Likewise, Sal, he said, kissing her forehead. Sally stopped abruptly. Why can't you say it? Say what? That you love me? You know I do, Sal. Why do I gotta say it? Sally pulled away from him, hands on her hips. Because I want to hear it. Oh, Sal, why you gotta be like that? He said, walking to her, arm encircling her waist. Sally pushed him away. You know, Sonic, it sounds like this when I think maybe you can't say it because you don't feel it. Sonic held his chest and staggered backward. Ugh! Just rip my heart out and stomp on it, why don't you? Sally turned from him in frustration. Fine, be like that. But note this, Sonic Hedgehog. You are not getting any more kisses from me until you can say those 3 little words. She started walking away from him in righteous anger, but he grabbed her from behind, turned her around, and tilted her backward. Princess Sally, Alicia Acorn, he said, looking deeper into her eyes. From the moment I met you all those years ago in Mobotropolis, your grace, beauty, intelligence, wit, heart, mind, body, and soul for so long have attracted to me. I have loved you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. It is as if you are a part of me,
Were it up to me, I will love you forever, even beyond the day of my death. Will you do the same? Sally stared for a moment, then melted into Sonic's smothery embrace. She mumbled something unintelligible, but Sonic understood. He had just swept her off her feet completely, and she had not even been the least prepared. I never, I never thought I'd thank Ed for anything. He thought as he moved in for a kiss. But he's right. Sometimes women do like to be put on a pedestal, and Sally deserves it most of all. I just hope she doesn't expect this to be an everyday thing. I hate to break out this touching scene, a nasal voice said, snapping both Sonic and Sally to reality. But I'm afraid you must come with me. Snively appeared from nowhere and grabbed Sonic's arm. Yes, he exclaimed. Now, you miserable hedgehog, I will do what my uncle could not. Capture and roboticize you. Sonic smiled at Sally, who smiled back. Well, Snively, he began in a mock scared tone, if you want me, you better hold on tight. Nothing could make me let go of you, hedgehog, until you're in a cell next to that French guard and that rabbit. You captured Hedgehog and Bunny? Sally asked incredulously. That's it! Sonic said, suddenly really upset. Meet you up there, Sal? Guys, Sonic, she said, standing up and disentangling herself from him. And just where do you think you're going, Hedgehog? Not where I'm going, Snively. Sonic ran to the top of the tree. Where we are! He held Snively by his long nose, out over the branches. Now, Snively, where are they? Snively gulped. In my base at Robotropolis! Your base? Sally said, floating beside Sonic. You mean? Yes, I'm in control now. There's no sign off Robotnik, and personally, I couldn't care less if he ever returned. Hang out for a while, Snively, my man, Sonic said, hanging the back of his jacket on top of the tree. Sal, you gather the others. I'll get him back. By the way, nice breath, Civ. Just time! Sonic, be careful. She called after him as he sped away. She floated out toward Naho as fast as he could. Snively struggled to get down, but he was stuck fast. He pulled a communicator from his pocket. Metal Sonic, come in! Roboticize those two freedom fighters now! And get someone to get me down! The last burst from him came with a cry. The sound of metal scraping upon metal woke Antoine up from his trance. He had sat watching the rise and fall of Bunny's chest as he breathed, and felt the reassuring throbbing of her pulse for so long. His mind had spaced out momentarily. He eased out from under Bunny and hid in a dark corner of the room. Roboticization time! Metal Sonic called cheerfully, unlocking the cell. Seeing only Bunny, he said, Hey, where's the other one? He turned around slowly, surveying the cell with infrared vision. When his back was to Antoine, he jumped out, landing a sidekick right in the back of the robot's head. As the robot turned around, Antoine hooked an arm under the robot's and threw him over his hip. It was a maneuver Bunny had used on him many times in martial art class. Metal Sonic landed hard on his back. Primary motor balance functions impaired. Instituting secondary system. Estimated time of action 15 seconds. Antoine picked Bunny up on his shoulder and ran outside the cell. He slammed the cell's door and the lock clicked, without waiting to see if the robot would revive. He ran blindly, fear taking over. A slight groan escaped Bunny. Concern for her sliced through Antoine's fear like a knife. He stopped and surveyed his surroundings. Recognizing the area, he ran toward an old escape tunnel the freedom fighters used to sneak in and out of the city. Bunny shook her head, regaining consciousness. What happened? Antoine? Bunny! Antoine stopped and laid her down. Is you okay? I feel like someone was using my head for an anvil, that's all. Where are we? Robotropolis. The list has happened. The fuel hedgehog has been recaptured and roboticized. We are all doomed. Bunny sat up. Now, I'll remember. He called himself Metal Sonic. I said Steve made him. We need to get to the others. Fast! Antoine looked down. I'm sorry, Bunny. My foolishness has almost cost you again. Forgive me. Bunny looked down, tears in his eyes. Oh, Antoine, was that what you thought all these years? I don't blame you for what happened. If it wasn't for you, I would have been roboticized completely. Let's just forget about the past, sugar, and concentrate on our future.
Antoine thought about that. Oui, c'est he said, standing. I didn't think about it. But now, as you said, we need to escape. He stood and walked toward the escape tunnel. But he saw he was vulnerable. He had just saved her again. It was fine to keep his emotions in check. She wanted him back. She knew she would never have had a better opportunity. Not so riot! She yelled. She extended her legs and locked them around Antoine's waist. She pulled him in before he could react. Antoine turned to her as she pulled him in. What's on you? He began. When he was within reach, Bunny grabbed him in a passionate embrace and kissed him with all the feeling and emotion that she had pent up for the 8 past years. Uh-oh. I can feel it. This is going to be my first lemon on this show. Run away! No, it isn't. I checked. It was rated T. They stayed there, kissing him like that, until Antoine pulled back slightly. Bunny, Bunny laid a finger over his lips.
For the past 8 years, I've been wanting to do that. I love you, Antoine. I never stopped loving you. And now I know why you stopped loving me. You blame yourself for what happened, right, sugar? You're the one who pulled me out of that accursed machine before it was finished.
Antoine looked away, tears in his eye. But if it wasn't for me, he said, his accent getting really bad, you would have not been captured in the first place.
Antoine, what are you saying? Calm down and explain yourself.
Antoine drew in a deep breath and let it out slowly. I was in the great forest that day. You knew we were waiting to exact revenge on me for pranking you, and I purposely avoided you. I should have said something when they showed up, but I was too, as you should say, chicon. Bunny grabbed his chin and slowly turned his face to hers.
But you followed me, or rescued me. We were only 9 years old then. Anyone would have done the same. But you were brave enough to come to my aid. Besides, things turned out for the best. Without these robotic parts, we would have stood much less of a chance against Robotnik. You carried this burden for far too long, sugar. Let it go.
Antoine sighed. He stroked the back of one of Bunny's ears, smiling. You were only partially right before, he said, dropping his accent at this moment of tenderness. I've never started loving you. Just kept it eating away. That's why I went after Sally, to try to forget you. If she had accepted me, I might have. But she didn't, so I never could.
No more, Antoine?
She asked, a tear creeping from her eye. No more, he agreed, kissing away the tear. My love. He drew her head close to his, and they kissed again, not holding back any longer. The sound of approaching feet got their attention. They looked and saw Sonic running toward them. Get a move on, guys! He said, not noticing the position he had caught them in. Swap us around the corner! Antoine and Bunny disengaged, a bit reluctantly, though, and stood up. Sonic, he said, his accent back. Is not the escape tunnel nearby? Sonic looked at Antoine, surprised. Good thinking, Ant! I almost forgot about that. Each of you, grab an arm and hold on! They did, and Sonic took off at top speed. He raced the tunnel and plowed through the door. He ran the length of it. It didn't stop until they were safely back at Knothole. Later that night, after the party was over, Bunny and Antoine related their encounters with Metal Sonic.
This is bad, Sally said. Looks like we underestimated Snively. He could be more trouble than his uncle was.
Yeah, Sonic said, bummed.
Oh, when will it end?
I don't know, Thunderbell, Uncle Tug said from his place at the table. But I know we'll keep fighting until it does. Maybe Rotor and I can come up with something.
Yeah,
Rotor piped up. It shouldn't be too long. Everything Robotnik has to have some kind of weakness. We just need to find it.
Keep us informed, you two, Sally said. And I want the specs on that new deroboticization you've been working on. Anything else?
I have something, Antoine said, standing. I believe a certain female and I have some very intimate and personal things to discuss about our relationship. No?
Antoine, Sally began, for the 1000th time.
No, not you, my princess. He walked up behind Bunny's chair and lifted her up out of the chair and into his arms. The time has come, my little doe, he said, nuzzling her neck. Looks like you've been replaced, sad girl. Vi said, wrapping her arms around Antoine's neck and cuddling her head to his chest. He walked off, carrying her without tripping or stumbling once. At least on screen. Everyone exchanged faces of relief. Then they all fainted from the shock, legs pointing straight up in the air. All that is, except Rosie and Tails.
Yuck! Tails said, flying off. As if Sonic and Aunt Sally weren't enough.
Rosie just sat there, watching them leave.
It's about time,
she thought to herself happily.
I knew it would happen eventually. I just did what I could help along a little.
She stood and walked to her hut, humming contentedly to herself. The end. But that's not completely the end of the whole stories. Oh, no. Francis and Robert would go on later to write many more things, all leading up to the Race for the Emeralds and Armageddon, one of the first big Sonic fanfics I can remember reading. So, let's look over this as a whole. First off, the grammar is very well done. The spelling in common places are messed up from here and there, but compared to compared to Von Doom and some of the other Dragon I've read, it's actually kind of refreshing. Sonic, for the most part, seems to be in character, but sometimes he can slip up, like during that whole romantic scene. I can't imagine him ever jumping into that trouble. And the focus on Antoine's a little disheartening, but hey, sometimes characters need to be fleshed out, and what's fanfiction for, if not that? The story moves at a good pace, and despite the fact that I wish they would actually make paragraphs because it hurts my poor little aching head, I gotta admit, it did have a good pace, and sort of did feel like an episode where we would focus on one of the characters. I also like the inclusion of Metal Sonic, and of course Snively being the ruler just made sense. Sadly, we don't see a lot of build-up or hidden messages that lead up to what's going to come in the future, but I wonder if they were just going by the book or by a okay, this leads to that type of basis. Reading this type of fic does take me back to those old days, and I am kind of glad to share it with all of you. It's not horrible, but it's not the greatest thing like a Fallout Equestria, but it is pretty well done, and I could also tell you people to actually read it for yourselves to get a good introduction to this world. This all serves up as a good prelude to the many things that are coming. Twists and turns, more awesomeness of Metal Sonic's coolness, and much more. You know, thinking back, I can remember what this work was to me. I remember how later on in my writing career I began to hate these guys. Why? Well, because I immediately stole their work for a Race for the Emeralds in Sonic Beginnings. But nowadays, I'm no longer that little boy. I'm no longer that teenager who thought he was better than other writers just because and wouldn't listen to advice. It would just really steal other people's work and think that they were lame just because they were angry at me. No. I'm no longer that immature little kid. I've grown, and I've really gotten to appreciate the work of people who have come before me and those who will come after me. This is just a good example of fanfics of how they've grown and changed, how different stories have come out to being. And I'm glad to have shared this with you guys. You know, there are times when I read fanfics from old people, and I joke with myself that one of these days I'm going to encounter a guy who's actually part of the Brony community. I mean, wouldn't that be hilarious? Look at his DeviantArt profile. Oh, good golly, he's actually a Brony? Yep. And apparently he's still writing fanfics, and oh, look at this! He's a witch fanfic lover! Oh. Martial art fruit user.
we'll see you next time, people. Who knows? Maybe next time will be another good Sailor Moon fic.